Hello, everybody. My name is How You Been, and welcome to a series that I would like to call Terrible Tribal. This is going to be episode 1 of a brand new series that I will plan on doing on YouTube here. So, Terrible Tribal is going to be a series where I will be going to Historic on MTG Arena, and I will be finding and playing some, I guess you could say, rather unique tribes that are available to us. The idea of these decks are going to be taking tribes that, nobody's going to be thinking about during their gameplay, during their time on MTG Arena. And we're just going to try to catch people off guard with some wacky builds. The idea is to let the tribe members shine and let them do the heavy lifting. We want our tribes to do the work, whether that be through combat damage, combos, maybe just making our opponents increasingly frustrated. Whichever way we can win, we will take. So without further ado, I appreciate you stopping by. If you like this kind of content, please feel free to subscribe. If you have any ideas for really bad tribes that you might want to try to see me play, go ahead and leave a comment. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy the video. Let's get into it. For the very first inaugural Terrible Tribal episode, we will be playing insects. That's right, insects. If you are the guy who sat there and thought to themselves, I think he's gonna play insects. Give yourself a gold star, buy yourself a fancy dinner. I don't know how you would have guessed something like that. But here we are. Insects are going to be our tribe for today. And boy, is it a fun deck. I have played a little bit of this deck already, and it is very, very promising. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into Arena and check out the deck list that we're playing with today. So as I was building this deck, I thought to myself, wow, insects are incredibly weak. Most of them are 1/1s. They don't have a lot of power. They don't have a lot of toughness. What are insects really good for? And the answer very, very quickly became obvious. Phyresis Roach is a 1-mana, 1/1, toxic 1. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, insects you control, and insect cards in your graveyard, hand, and library perpetually gain toxic 1. So the idea is to get in with our Roach, get in with our insects, and try to deal as much toxic damage as possible. Phyresis Roach is the main inspiration behind this build. We do have other infect creatures, such as Billows Skull Dweller is another 1-mana 1/1 with toxic 1 and death touch. We have Pestilent Siphoner, which is a 2-mana 1/1 flying toxic 1. And then we have a couple of support cards in our 2-mana slot as well. We have stuff like Virus Beetle, and we have Brain Maggot, both of which are great ways of eating at our opponent's hand, because the less cards that our opponent has to deal with our stuff, the better. We have other cards such as Blight Beetle, which is 2-mana 1/1 pro green. Creatures my opponent's control can have +1/+1 counters, which is relevant in some matchups such as late game, where they do often have a lot of creatures that do get +1/+1 counters. Then we have stuff like Drowning Ichor as our spot removal, giving creatures -4/-4 until end of turn, and with the added upside of being able to proliferate our toxic if we already have the poison counters on our opponent. Unnatural Restoration allows us to return a creature card back from our graveyard. It does say permanent. Realistically, we're probably going to bring back a bug. I mean, we're in it to win it with the insects, man. So if one Natural Restoration is targeting anything other than an insect, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. But it also has that added benefit of proliferate. And proliferating those poison counters is going to be essential to our game plan. We have Carrion Locust, 3-mana 2/1, flying. When it enters the battlefield, we can exile a target card from an opponent's graveyard. And if that card was a creature card, that player loses a life. It's a nice way to help clean up the graveyard in case our opponent's doing any graveyard shenanigans. Then we have Icon of Ancestry. It's pretty simple. When it enters, we choose insects. Insects get +1/+1, and then we can pay 3 and tap it to reveal the top 3 cards of our library. And we can put an insect creature card from those three into our hand. It's basically going to be our only source of card advantage. And then to kind of help make sure that our bugs can still get through, get in the toxic damage, we have Crippling Fear. One of the best one-sided board wipes I could possibly be running in this deck. So that's pretty much the deck. We're just getting in there with our bugs. We're trying to get in there with that toxic damage. We're trying to poison our opponent out, thus the name Insect Infect. Without further ado, let's get into some games. Let's see if we can jank some people out with some poison counters. And let's see how well this deck can do for a terrible tribe. Alrighty. First game, first episode of Terrible Tribal. We are playing Insects. Let's look at the hand. We have 3 mana, some insects. Ooh, we got the Phyresis Roach. We definitely keep this hand. So the game plan is going to be dropping Phyresis Roach on turn 1, hoping our opponent does not realize what they are facing down and don't have a spot removal for it. If we get in once with that Phyresis Roach, we are sitting pretty. Alrighty, let's see. So, like I said, we'll go ahead and drop Slitherboard Pathway, play the Phyresis Roach. First toxic creature on the board. Turn 1, they played a land, no follow-up. Let's see if we can get in there. We get in there. Now, all of our stuff has toxic. Beautiful day. We're living large. We're sitting pretty. Opponent's reading Phyresis Roach, realizing what just happened. Virus Beetle gets rid of a Cryptomancer. And Invisible Stalker. So Invisible Stalker is going to be a little bit of an issue. Has Hexproof, so we can't really kill it. But I think we're in a spot where we don't really care. They look like they're trying to do some sort of backup, maybe ninjutsu plan. So we'll actually get in there with both creatures. They can block the Roach if they want. They'll lose their Invisible Stalker. They don't block the Roach, which might be very bad for them. We're going to go ahead and carry in Locust. Get rid of the Cryptomancer. And now I think we're sitting even prettier than before. Opponent plays a land, plays SRAM Senior Edificer. Passes the turn. So I think we just have to really make this hard for our opponent. We're going to go ahead and Drown and Nicker the SRAM. See if they have a response. If they don't have a response, SRAM dies. And we proliferate. They'll go to 5 poison. God's willing. That's fine. It's going to game Pro Black. We will get him with the Locust. Hit him for 2. Put him up to 6 poison. Opponent plays a land. Aether Tunnel. So enchanted creature can't be blocked, and it gets +1/+0. So it looks like they're just a sort of Boggles deck. And they go ahead and scoop it up. They knew they were dead, and if they weren't dying that turn, they were definitely dead the next turn. Good game, opponent. GG's. Alrighty. Another game. Another poisonous kill for the bugs. Let's see. So we have 3 mana, Overgrown Tomb, double Death Calculate. It's a little awkward. Our turn 2 is not going to really be on time. We do have the 1 mana for the Skull Dweller. We do have Virus Beetle and Blight Beetle, as well as the Icon of Ancestry. So even though it's a little bit slow after turn 1, I think we keep this because we can play both of our Beetles, and we have the Icon of Ancestry to kind of act as a backup. Opponent plays a Waste. We're going to go Overgrown Tomb. Player Skull Dweller. Another Waste for our opponent. And an Ornithopter of Paradise. That's pretty good. It's not. It would have been a lot better turn 1, I suppose. But we play Phyresis Roach. We'll get in with the Skull Dweller. If opponent blocks it, it dies to Death Touch. Otherwise, they take the poison. Opponent's at 1 poison counter. Only 9 more to go, baby. Zalfrin Void for the opponent. Scrying to the top. And a Hedron Archive. This is good. Opponent is playing a little bit slow, which will benefit us in the long run. So I think we go ahead and Virus Beetle to get something out of their hand. Opponent discards a Quicksilver Amulet, and we'll play another Phyresis Roach. We'll get in with our 2 bugs. Opponent probably just blocks the Roach. Yep. Takes 1 more poison counter. Plays their 3rd Waste and a Power Stone Shard. And a Mind Stone. So opponent is empty-handed. They can crack the Mind Stone to draw a card if they need to. We're going to go ahead and Icon of Ancestry. And we're just going to make all our bugs that much bigger. Go ahead and choose Insect. We got a bunch of 2/2s. And we get in for 8 damage, as well as a potential 3 poisonous. Ornithopters of Paradise can still block, of course, but they'll just die. Opponent goes to 10. Double Phyresis Roach trigger. Everything gets Toxic 2. So our opponent is in a tough spot. They search their library for an artifact card. They choose Platinum Angel, but Platinum Angel does not do it here, I don't believe. I don't believe we die here. But I suppose we Virus Beetle to bait out the Platinum Angel if they had a way that I'm not seeing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Platinum Angel's a 7/7. Or sorry, is a 7 drop. Discard. They have their Ornithopters to kind of block if they need to, but it's not looking good for our opponent. I believe they're still dead here, because if they block a Roach and block a Skull Dweller, the other Roach still has Toxic 3. Virus Beetle still has Toxic 2. They take 5 poisonous no matter what, and then we win the game. Down to 6, up to 10. Good game, opponent. That's another win for the bugs, baby. And a nice little rank up to go with it. Let's see another game for the bugs. We got 3 mana. Skull Dweller, Brain Maggot, Pestilent Siphoner, Drowning-Nicker. A little slow in terms of how fast we want the deck to be. However, can't really complain. We have the mana to play our stuff. We're going to keep the 7. We get to Skull Dweller on turn 1. Potentially get in there with the poison damage. That way our Drowning-Nicker is just slightly better later. Opponent playing a Forest and thinking. Abundant Harvest. Let's see. Opponent chooses non-land and they get a Creeping Mole. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. That could affect us later on. Unless we decide we're going to play Llanowar Wastes and Brain Maggot here. Go ahead and take a look at what they're doing. They have 4 lands. Anger of the Gods, Explore, Goblin Ruin Blaster. We have to take the Anger. Anger's going to absolutely decimate us if we don't. Okay. Let's see here. We can go ahead and just play the Forest now. We'll play. We will play. We know they run Anger of the Gods, but we're gonna run the Pestilent Siphoner out. Get in there with these 2. Up to 2 poisonous. And just kind of hope they don't have sweepers anytime soon and get in with the beats. We do have 4 lands to potentially deploy the Crippling Fear. However, that Creeping Mold might say no to that. Our opponent might just decide to blow up one of our lands instead. There is a line where our opponent uses the Creeping Mold to kill our Brain Maggot. But that's all dependent on whether or not our opponent realizes Brain Maggot is an enchantment. We play Icon of Ancestry. We get in for 6 damage. Go up another 2 poison counters. See what our opponent does. Icon of Ancestry is also good here because it also acts a little bit as a bait. Ooh, Chandra is not good. Yikes. Not good. I mean, we can go ahead and Virus Beetle here, try to make them discard something, but this Chandra is going to be a real issue. Okay, opponent discards Valakut Stone Forge. We're going to go ahead and pass the turn here. Opponent 6 mana plays Goblin Ruin Blaster. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, destroy target non-basic land. Alright. So there goes one of our lands. There takes us 1 further away from being able to Crippling Fear. However, our opponent doesn't have that big of a board, so that may not be all that much of a concern at the moment. Opponent's got 2 mana left. Can't play the Anger, can't play the Creeping Mold. Maybe they can play their Unknown. However, they definitely do still have their Chandra. So they go ahead and minus Chandra to kill the creature, which is interesting. We're just going to go ahead and drown an Ichor. They will get an additional poison counter, and we're going to pass the turn. It's not looking great, especially with Chandra. Now with the Chandra emblem, things are going to close out here really quick. Opponent's Stone Rains our land. They had the Creeping Mold as well. They could put us on 1 mana if they really want to, and at that point, we're probably just screwed. Take us off of our black. We draw a Llanowar Waste, but we're just gonna go ahead and scoop it up. Good try, good try. Just can't really do anything after the board wipe, and losing all our lands on top of it is a little bit of an ouch. Alrighty, game number 4 of Terrible Tribal. Getting our insect on. Almost there. Phyresis Roach is so good. Unfortunately, we only have 1 land, and it is not even a green source, so we cannot keep this. Alright, now we have the opposite problem. 2 lands, both green sources, but our hand is unplayable. Not looking good. We're going to mull down to 5, but it's not going to be ideal. Okay, so as weird as this hand is, it's definitely keepable. So we keep 5. We put an icon to the bottom and a Crippling Fear to the bottom because we don't really know how soon we'll actually get to that. And then we're going to hope that Roach does most of the heavy lifting here. We do have to draw into another threat. But hopefully our opponent underestimates the Phyrexian Roach and we can kind of get in there and get him a little bit, you know? Opponent read the card. I'm sure they read Toxic. However, that part is going to be the least important part. They'll gain a life. I'll attack. Maybe they... There it is. Put everything... Everything gets a poison counter. Dahlia's Lieutenant. Make the Soul Warden bigger. Gonna get in with the 2/2. No blocks. We will take our beats. We will go ahead and drown and Ichor the Thalia's Lieutenant. We are going to make them proliferate up to 2 poison counters. Get in with the bugs. Up to 6 poison counters. And both of our bugs are now toxic 3. Opponent plays Horn of Gondor. Makes a 1-1. Gains a life. We draw a land. I think we go ahead and Virus Beetle, or sorry, Carrion Locust here. Get rid of the Thalia's Lieutenant. They can gain a life. Fly in over their heads with the 3 infect. Put them to 9. Opponent on the ropes. They need a way to wipe our flyers at the very least. Unfortunately, I don't believe they have that way. See, gaining life is not going to do anything for you, opponent, unfortunately. We're just going to go ahead. We're going to close it out. Make this nice and easy. Hit them. Give them 5 poison. Adios, opponent. Good game. Alrighty. Game number 5 of Terrible Tribal. Insecting our opponents. Whew. Is this a hand? We have the green for the roach. We have the second land for the virus beetles and the unnatural restoration. We keep the 7 every time, baby. We go Slitherbore Pathway, Roach. Pass the turn. The best part about Roach is nobody... Oh, there's another Roach. Nobody ever really thinks about the Roach until it's too late. We play another Roach. Roach is our best card. So it only stands that having 2 of them is even better. But you know what's better than 2 Roaches? 3 Roaches. And a virus beetle. Our opponent is living the dream right now. They are getting insected out of this game. Ring rates. Looks like our opponent's probably playing some sort of Nazgul deck. That wasn't even fair. We totally steamrolled the opponent there. So that's been Terrible Tribal, Episode 1, Insects. Overall, out of all the games that we played, we actually ended up winning more than we lost, which is pretty impressive for a deck that really shouldn't do that well. I mean, it's helpful that the tribe itself was backed up with a really powerful mechanic. Having the poison damage is a huge plus, especially when most of our bugs are 1/1s. We're not going to get there really most of the time with conventional damage. 20 is just a lot to ask for out of our small little insect boys. So having that poisonous there really lets us kind of get in there, get aggro, and just kill our opponent before they have a chance to do anything. I had a ton of fun with this deck. Feel free to try to build your own version of this deck. If you liked what you saw, if you liked the idea, maybe you have better cards to tweak it. My point of views with these decks is I want to let the tribe shine. I know there's probably better cards to run as support pieces for these kind of decks. However, I want the tribe to do the lift, you know? I want them to be the ones getting the kills, whether it's through combo, through damage, whatever it may be. So, until next time, once again, I'm going to be trying to do these every week, at least once a week. Feel free to let me know if you want to see any specific tribes at all. I do have a couple of decks lined up already, so it's going to be fun playing those, seeing how they do in comparison. But feel free, once again, let me know if you want to see anything specific. If you like the content, feel free to like and subscribe. That way you know whenever I post. That way you can see the next episode of Terrible Tribal as soon as it comes out. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed and have a blessed day.